Few men embodied courage the way Audie Murphy did. A war hero whose valor defined an era, he returned from battle-scarred but unbroken, stepping into Hollywood with the same quiet intensity he once carried onto European battlefields. But beyond the bright lights and the applause, Murphy noticed something others didn't. Beneath the glamour of the Golden Age, many stars lived in quiet agony, hiding parts of themselves the world wasn't ready to see. Murphy wasn't a gossip. He was an observer, a man who understood what it meant to live behind walls, to wear masks, to fight inner wars, even after the real ones ended. Among the many people he met, 9 actors stood out to him, individuals trapped between image and truth, victims of a system that prized illusion over humanity. These were people Murphy respected, empathized with, and quietly pitted. What follows are the stories of those 9. As Murphy saw them, if this kind of story touches your heart, if you're someone who cares about truth, responsibility, and speaking up for the voiceless, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share it with someone who should hear it. Let's get started. 1. Rock Hudson, the mask of the leading man. In the 1950s, Rock Hudson was America's idea of perfection. Handsome, tall, and impossibly charming, he was the face of Universal's romantic dreams. Every magazine cover, every publicity shot, painted him as the ultimate ladies' man. But Murphy, who worked on sets near Hudson's Circle, noticed something different. He was too careful, he reportedly told a friend. Every gesture rehearsed, like he was performing even when the cameras weren't rolling. Hudson's secret wasn't malicious, it was protective. Hollywood had rules, unspoken but ironclad. A man rumored to be gay could lose everything. His studio handlers arranged dates with actresses and orchestrated a marriage that was more contract than romance. Hudson complied, but Murphy saw the toll. He once said Hudson had a haunted look, like a man afraid of being found out. Decades later, when the world learned the truth, and when Hudson's final illness forced his reality into public view, Murphy's quiet observation seemed prophetic. Hudson had spent his life defending an illusion. Murphy, who'd lived through real battles, recognized another kind of courage, the kind it took just to survive in a world that punished honesty. 2. Montgomery Clift, the broken mirror. Montgomery Clift was everything Hollywood's golden age wanted to pretend it was: brooding, intelligent, and tortured. His performances in A Place in the Sun and From Here to Eternity didn't feel acted, they felt lived. Murphy admired him deeply. They shared a certain melancholy, an understanding of inner wounds that never healed. Both were soldiers in their own ways, Murphy in Europe, Clift on the battlefield of his own mind. But after Clift's horrific car accident in 1956, something in him changed. Friends called him the slowest suicide in Hollywood. Murphy, who'd seen men wrestle with pain they couldn't name, recognized the pattern: self-medication, guilt, secrecy. Behind that self-destruction was fear, not just of physical disfigurement, but of exposure. Clift's attraction to men was whispered about in circles he could never fully trust. His close bond with Elizabeth Taylor became a public shield, even as he confided in her his truth. Murphy never condemned him. Some people die from the war, he said once, even if they never left home. Clift's war wasn't fought with bullets. It was fought with shame, and Murphy, perhaps the only man in Hollywood who truly understood silent suffering, saw it clearly. 3. James Dean, the rebel who couldn't belong. The first time Murphy met James Dean, he reportedly told a friend, "That kid's got too many ghosts in him." Dean had a magnetism no one could define, a mix of innocence and danger, arrogance and vulnerability. Hollywood adored him, but never understood him. Dean didn't play by their rules. He dressed oddly, avoided social events, and carried a brooding intensity that made others uncomfortable. Murphy saw behind the attitude. Dean's rumored relationships with both men and women weren't tabloid scandal to him. They were part of Dean's desperate search for belonging. He wanted to feel something real, Murphy once said, but Hollywood doesn't do real. Dean's death at 24 froze him in myth, but to Murphy, the tragedy wasn't the crash, it was that Dean never got the chance to live without the performance. He fought the world's rules, Murphy told a friend, but the world never gave him mercy. 4. Anthony Perkins, the actor and his shadow. Long before he terrified audiences as Norman Bates in Psycho, Anthony Perkins lived in constant fear, not of violence, but of discovery. Murphy met him on the Universal lot. He described Perkins as the kind of man who talks softly but listens hard, always cautious, always polite. There was nervous energy in him, a need to please, to stay unnoticed. Perkins' personal life was one long negotiation with Hollywood's expectations. Romantic dinners staged for gossip columnists, polite smiles for photographers, and long nights spent alone. Murphy didn't judge him. He saw in Perkins another soldier hiding from a battlefield, not of bombs but of headlines. He wasn't scared of dying, Murphy reportedly said. He was scared of being seen. When Perkins finally acknowledged his truth decades later, it was too late for the era that had made him. But Murphy, had he lived longer, might have understood that survival sometimes meant silence. 5. George Nader, loyalty in the shadows. Among Murphy's acquaintances, George Nader stood out for his decency. Handsome, steady, and unpretentious, Nader never had the arrogance of a leading man, and perhaps that's why Murphy liked him. Nader was close friends with Rock Hudson, and insiders long suspected they were more than that. Studio executives knew, too, which was why Nader's career quietly disappeared just as Hudson soared. Murphy understood loyalty. He'd seen men risk their lives for each other in war. Hollywood, he once said, was the only place where loyalty got you punished. Nader never betrayed Hudson's confidence. When scandal magazines threatened to expose them, he accepted blacklisting rather than speak. Murphy saw in that silence a kind of nobility. He kept his word. Murphy told a confidant, "That's rarer in this town than courage under fire." 6. Cary Grant, the gentleman's secret. To the public, Cary Grant was the epitome of charm, witty, confident, impossibly suave. To Murphy, he was a man carefully sculpting his own legend. Rumors about Grant's relationships with actor Randolph Scott floated for years, though both men laughed them off. Murphy, who once crossed paths with Grant at a charity event, noticed his composure. He was always performing, Murphy said later. Even when he laughed, you could tell he'd rehearsed it. Grant lived his life like a perfectly edited movie, every scene controlled, every flaw retouched. Murphy saw the discipline it took. He built a wall out of good manners, he said, and then forgot how to leave. The two men were opposites, the cowboy soldier and the polished gentleman, yet Murphy felt a strange sympathy for him. Both were trapped by the images others demanded. In Grant's case, the mask was charm. In Murphy's, it was heroism. Neither could ever fully rest. 7. Ramon Novarro, The Price of Silence. Ramon Novarro was from an earlier Hollywood, the silent era's golden matinee idol. By the time Murphy heard his name, Novarro's fame had faded, replaced by tragic legend. Murphy, who admired old westerns and early pictures, knew Novarro's story, a man who'd once rivaled Valentino in fame, now living quietly, almost reclusively. What struck Murphy wasn't the fall from stardom, but why it happened. Novarro had been blackmailed repeatedly, forced to pay for his privacy, punished for a secret the public was never meant to know. Murphy, hearing the whispers, reportedly told a studio guard, "That's what happens when the wrong people learn the right truth." When Novarro was murdered in 1968, tabloids treated it as sordid spectacle. Murphy, reading about it, said simply he survived the studios, but not the shame they taught him to feel. 8. Clifton Webb, the man who played himself. To audiences, Clifton Webb was unforgettable, the sharp-tongued wit of Laura and Sitting Pretty. Off-screen, he was exactly that, elegant, sardonic, brilliant. He never married, never pretended, and lived openly with his mother until her death, a situation that fueled endless rumors. Hollywood whispered, but Webb never seemed to care. He didn't hide, Murphy said admiringly. He just never explained. In an industry built on pretending, Webb's refusal to perform his personal life was radical. Murphy respected him deeply for it. He fought back, he said, by acting like he didn't need their approval. Webb's sharp humor and confidence were armor. Where others concealed, he deflected. Where others feared exposure, he met it with wit. Murphy once called him the only honest liar in Hollywood. 9. Tab Hunter, the golden boy who broke free. The last and youngest of Murphy's quiet observations was Tab Hunter, the blonde heartthrob Warner Brothers built into a teenage dream. Murphy saw him often at the studio gym. Hunter was polite, reserved, and wary. He smiled too much, Murphy noted once. That's how you know a man's hiding something. In reality, Hunter lived under constant threat of exposure. When a tabloid nearly outed him, his career almost ended. Murphy, hearing of it, told a friend, "That town punishes honesty more than lies." Years later, Hunter's autobiography revealed the truth: his private relationships, his fear, and his decision to finally own who he was. It was the closure Murphy never got to see, but one that would have made him proud. Freedom, Murphy once said, isn't what they give you. It's what you stop hiding from. Audie Murphy's war medals told one story. His eyes told another. Those who knew him said he carried the weight of the dead, both from Europe and from Hollywood, men and women who'd fought battles no one could see. To Murphy, truth was sacred. He'd seen what lies cost, in trenches, in studios, in souls. The 9 names he quietly spoke of weren't gossip to him. They were reminders that even in a land of dreams, people were still dying inside their disguises. He once said, "I fought Nazis for freedom, but out here, folks fight themselves just to stay alive." Hollywood demanded masks. Murphy, the soldier who'd faced hell, recognized another kind of battlefield, one fought in silence, one where the casualties smiled for cameras and signed autographs. And that's why his story and theirs still matter. Because behind every perfect smile, every shining star, there's a person just trying to be seen, and a war hero who saw them first.